So today I'm going to go through and update my spreadsheet as we did get paid out in Group 2. Now I've already updated it for Group 1 of the YMAX ETFs, but I'm going to update it for Group 2 as we did get paid out those this past week. Now as you can see, I am still down on about 3 or 4 of these ETFs out of 14. But let's see what it's going to change that real price per share or the adjusted price per share to after I enter in those distributions and the purchases I did make this past week. Hello, my friends, this is Legend. So today we're going to go over and we're going to update my spreadsheet. And in this spreadsheet, the most important part of it is the adjusted price per share, or what I like to call is the real price per share. This is the number, in my opinion, is the most important number because this price here, what it does, it takes into account your purchase price per share and your distributions, which that is what I'm calling as my real price per share. So by doing that, I am able to find out what that average is when I include those distributions. And since I am capturing those distributions, that does help to reduce that average price. So I'm not necessarily looking at my purchase price per share, right, which is this number. I'm looking at my adjusted price per share, which is this number. And that's what my sheet here does help to provide you. It provides that real price per share so that you can see where you actually stand in the position when you factor in those distributions. Now, in my method, of course, I do not purchase any more shares if it is green for that ticker. And the green part meaning that adjusted price per share is actually below that market price. Okay, like on PLTY, the market price is $54.62, but my real price per share or my adjusted price per share is $3.66. Therefore, if I did purchase shares at that $54 mark, that will increase this adjusted price per share, even though it will decrease my purchase price per share, right? Because that purchase price per share is $60.67. But by buying at 54, it will decrease the purchase price average of that $60. So that will drop, but it's going to increase my adjusted price per share. And this is the number that I care about the most, right? Because this factors in my distributions. Once this number here reaches 0 and under, then all of my shares have been paid for by those distributions so that anything at that point forward, I am making money because I will have gained enough distributions to cover the amount that I had originally invested. So once that has tipped over and my distributions exceeds the amount of capital that I had invested, it will then be paid off, right? So if you are interested in getting a copy of this sheet, come on over, join the Discord. The link will be in the pinned comments and the description below, where you can get a copy of this sheet so that you can plug in your own high yield ETFs that you are tracking or holding and find out what your real price per share is. And to find out, are you up or down in that position? And what I mean by up or down in the position is just that if this number here is green, then that means that if I were to sell all my shares in that position, I would actually make money because selling the shares at that market price plus the distributions I've earned exceeds the amount of capital that I have invested. Therefore, it would be a gain. And in PLTY's case, it would be about $1,800. That's what this sheet does for you. It helps to give you a nice little quick one-page sheet here that you can quickly look at, find out if it's the right time to decide if you wanted to buy more shares or not. But always keep in mind that is your choice. That is your decision. That is no one else's but yours. You are the CEO of your portfolio. So make sure that you make your decisions for your portfolio. Don't follow someone else and don't take their advice. I'm only showing what I'm doing. So this is just for entertainment. And if you enjoy this type of entertainment, please make sure to hit that like button, as it does help the channel out. So if you're already a part of my Discord, you'll not only get this sheet, but you'll also get any notifications of other stocks or ETFs that I am purchasing. I like to put those out there for my members just so that they can see what I'm buying into. But of course, none of that means that it's going to be a winning trade, right? We're all in the same boat on that. We do our best to look at the charts and try to play it at the best possible way we can, but it does not guarantee a win or a loss, right? So again, come on over, join the Discord. Would love to have you. So let's just go ahead and jump right on in, update the spreadsheets, and find out what my new real price per share is, and to see how much closer I can get some of these red numbers down in the percentage right here. And this is the percentage up or down if I sold at that current price. Currently, the ones that I'm down on are CONY at 16% down, ULTY 2.4% down, SMCY 8% down, and WDTE 2.6% down. Now, those are just the ones that I'm down on. As you can see, I am up on quite a few of the other ones. Actually, 10 of the 14 I am up. And that means if I were to sell all my shares at the current price, I would make money on that deal. For JEPQ, I'm 89% up, WDTE 9%, IWMY 9%, QDTE 18%, and so forth, right? I mean, all the way up to PLTY at 84% and AMDY with only 7% up. So it's all over the board. I am up on some and I am down on others. But that, of course, is the percentages before entering in the distributions. So let's find out what that's going to change to once we enter in those distributions. Now, with the new REF4 spreadsheet, I can quickly go straight to those individual sheets just by hovering over the ticker symbol, clicking that link that pops up. It takes you straight to that ticker symbol of that individual sheet where you can enter in any purchases or your distributions for that one. And then, of course, to go back, you can just hover over that brown button which says back to summary, and you can click and it will take you right back to that summary page. But while we're on CONY, let's just go ahead and let's enter in the purchase that I did make on CONY. And that purchase was on 12/24. The price that I did buy it at was at $41.50. Now, the $41.50 is below my real price per share of $53.22. Therefore, it will lower that real price per share. So it purchased at that $41.50. And how many shares did it purchase? I got a total of 12 more shares. So just off of this purchase, it's going to adjust that real price per share right here from $53.22, and it's going to lower it down to $51.59. A very nice drop in that real price per share. But stay tuned because we still have the distribution to enter. And with that distribution, it's going to lower that real price per share yet again. But how many shares can I count for that distribution of 49 cents? Since I enter in the X date into this column, that makes it nice and simple because then I can look at that date and I can say all shares before this date of 12/26, I can count as being eligible for that distribution, okay? Because that's the X date and you have to own the shares before the X date. So any date before 12/26, those shares are eligible for that 49 cents distribution. Well, my last purchase was 12/24, and that's the one we just entered in. So I can account for all of my shares, and I have a total of 86 shares. So I get to enter in 86 into this column, and let's see what that changes my real price per share to. So 86 shares at that 49 cents will change my real price per share from 51.59 down to 51.09. So instead of that 16% down, looks like I've dropped it down to only 14% down. So yes, I am still down on CONY. But if I were to sell all my shares at the current price, even though I will take a loss on it, but how much of a loss would I take? Am I going to take a 50% loss? No, I'll actually only lose about $874 because of the distributions I have earned, plus selling the shares at that current price. That difference of what I spent in the capital means I will only lose about $874. So yes, it is a loss, but it's not losing all of my capital of $6,000, right? I'm talking of losing about $874. So not too bad for me, but you do have to decide what is best for your portfolio. Now, maybe $800 is too much of a loss, a 14% loss. Maybe that's too much and you need to go ahead and take that loss. And that is up to you. That is your choice. But for me, I'm okay with the 14% risk because I do have a plan, right? And my plan is to continue to buy under my real price per share and to earn those distributions to eventually, hopefully, get my real price per share under the current price of CONY. Now, that might be a tough road, but that is my plan. And let me stress, that's my plan, not your plan. Do your own research, please, before you get into any of these high yield, high risk plays. And anything with a high yield does mean that there is more of a risk for that position. Always keep that in mind, and don't let anybody tell you that this is just printing money, right? You have to make sure you're playing these right. And I'm not saying that the way I'm doing it is the best way, but it's the way that I am doing it. Since 10 of the 14 are positive, I feel like that hopefully I'm doing something right. But again, nothing is guaranteed as these are high risk. So let's just move right along and let's just go to the next one, and that will be PLTY. So for PLTY, I did not buy any more shares. And why not? Well, because my real price per share is $3.66, and the current price of $54.62 means if I did purchase at that current price of about $54, then it's going to raise my adjusted price per share. And if it raises that adjusted price per share, it's also going to extend out how long I'll need before getting this paid off. Currently, I'm at around an estimated number of payouts of 5. Okay, so at a current distribution average of 82 cents, if it stays with that and that average is around 82 cents, then it should get paid off in about 5 more distributions. Now, these are estimated, okay, because that distribution average does change depending on what we actually get paid out. So this 5 could be 6 next week, even though you get paid out a distribution if it's lower than 82 cents, if that makes sense. No pun intended. But we did earn 99 cents on this last distribution. So let's enter in the number of shares. And how many shares do I have? I still have those 37 shares. So we'll enter in 37, and that real price per share of $3.66 now becomes $2.66. Very nice, right? So instead of 5 distributions, now I only have 4 distributions left because that was over that 82 cents. for that average. 99 cents is definitely over that. So if it can stay above that 82 cents, I am going to get this thing paid off in about a month. Not guaranteed, of course, because distribution amount is always unknown. But overall, I have an estimated payoff time of 4 weeks. Excited about that, and we'll see if that actually does happen in 4 weeks, or is it going to take a couple extra weeks if the distribution does drop. But if I were to sell all my shares at the current price, I am going to make $1,900, right? Now that's not $1,900 plus those distributions I've earned. No, that is not correct. The amount that I will clear is $1,900. And the reason you cannot tack that onto the distributions that I've earned is just simply because I paid out $2,200. I've earned $2,100. So the amount of capital that is still at risk is just under $100. Okay. So I have to earn that back in distributions, which you divide that out among the 37 shares, and that's where I'm getting my real price per share of $2.66, meaning that I need at least $2.66 of distributions, and once I receive that, then this is paid off, and all distributions from that point on will be free and clear, not including, of course, any taxes. That is up to you and your accountant to figure that part out. So moving on from PLTY, we have NVDY, and NVDY paid out 11 cents. How many shares do I have? 71 shares. So my real price per share of $12.49 now becomes $12.38, and at a $14.80 current price, I'm sitting okay with this one, in my opinion. ULTY, we already updated this one, so you can see that my real price per share of $39.88 is still slightly above that current price of $38.75. So that's why on my summary page, this one was showing as red, because if I were to sell all my shares at the current price, I will lose $48.43, which is about a 2% loss. And that's well within my risk tolerance. So I'm just going to ride this one out and to see if I can get that real price per share under that current price. And if ULTY can just trade sideways for a while, then I should be able to get ahead of it if ULTY can continue to pay me that 50 some cents right here per week. Because I only need about $1.10 worth of distributions to get roughly to that current price. Now, of course, if ULTY drops, then that will move down along with my real price per share being able to move down because of the distributions. So I could be chasing it a little bit, but hopefully ULTY can go to trading sideways to up so that I can eventually get ahead of it. But until then, I'm just going to try my best to stay with it. And when it does trade sideways, I'm still going to be moving down. So that's my goal, and that is my method of working these high yield ETFs. So moving forward, we have MSTY, and MSTY paid out 51 cents. How many shares do I have? And that's 95 shares. So my real price per share of minus 4.25, meaning that it's paid off. So when I enter in this distribution, that will change that real price per share from minus 4.25 to minus 4.76. So it's moving away from that zero, right? And it's moving on down, meaning that this one is profitable currently for me. And for SMCY, we received a 9 cents distribution. Not the highest, that's for sure, right? That one's pretty low. Last week was 11. This week is 9. So a little on the low side, but it's still a distribution. And let's just see what it takes my real price per share down to and how far away am I from getting to a break even, meaning that my real price per share is at the current price of SMCY. So how many shares do I have? I have a total of 120 shares. And my real price per share of $9.23 now becomes $9.13. So I'm still 7% down on it. And if I were to sell all my shares, even though I have a total of $1,200 invested, I'm only going to lose $88. So I'm trying to show you that even though it is red and I'm under that current price, I really don't stand to lose much. And that's just in my case here. Your case could be very different. And you have to do your own calculations to see what your real price per share is. And that's where getting a copy of my Rev4 stock tracker sheet can help you to determine that. And moving forward to AMDY. For AMDY, I have 164 shares and we earned 41 cents on that distribution. So my real price per share of $32.36 now becomes $31.95. With the current price of $38.01, I feel like I'm sitting pretty nice with this one as well. Because if I were to sell all my shares, I would make about $990. Not too bad. YMAX. We filled this one out previously, and I have a real price per share of $7.81, and the current price being $10.27. This one here is also profitable if I were to sell out of YMAX, and that sell all my shares at that current price, I would make about $1,800. For HUI, I have a total of 60 shares. We earned 68 cents on this distribution, so my real price per share of $50.52 now becomes $49.84. Now, with the current price of $49.09, I am still down on this one because my real price per share is $49.84, which is above that current price. Therefore, I am down just ever so slightly in this one. And therefore, if I were to sell all my shares, I would lose about $44. So I'm bringing this one closer and closer to that current price. And all I need HUI to do is trade sideways for a while or trade up so that I can get ahead of it and eventually create enough of a buffer that then it can move up and down a bit more and I could still have a nice cushion between that current price and my real price per share. QDTE, we've already updated this one previously, and my real price per share is $24.98 with the current price of $32.94. This one is green as well. And therefore, if I were to sell all my shares at the current price, I would make $1,200. IWMY was updated previously. My real price per share is $16.25, current price $20.15. And therefore, if I were to sell all my shares at the current price, I would make $2,100. Now, I can't stress enough, this is my account. These are my purchases. Okay, these are my distributions. You have to do your own to find out where you sit because it does depend on what prices you purchased them at if you're going to be green or if you're going to be red. And depending on those prices that you purchased at will make that decision for you. But overall, I had to put the time in to help to get that real price per share down. But that is not financial advice. Please make sure that you decide for yourself what you need to do in your portfolio. Next is QQQY. We've updated this one previously. My adjusted price per share of $20.80 and the current price of $23.98 means I am green on this one as well. And if I were to sell all 551 shares, I will make $1,700. WDTE was previously updated and my real price per share being $27.24, the current price being $32.08. Therefore, if I were to sell all my shares, I'm going to make $2,600. And as you can see, a lot of these I am up on, and the ones that I am down on are not down by a whole lot. Definitely not as much as what I'm up on. Now, of course, do not take that as a reason why you should get into these high yield, high risk ETFs. And last but not least is JEPQ. And for JEPQ, this is a monthly payer, and we've already updated it for December. And that real price per share is still $3.16, and the current price being $59.34. Therefore, if I had to sell all 47 of my shares, I would make $2,600. And as you can see on JEPQ, if we keep an average of about 47 cents on those distributions, I should get JEPQ paid off in about 7 months. And that's months because JEPQ pays monthly. So 7 more distributions or 7 more months, and I should get JEPQ paid off. And that's the last one that I have. So once you've entered in everything, we can go right back to that summary page, just simply by hovering over, clicking the link, and away you go right back to the summary page where everything is updated as you enter it into those individual sheets. So you can see I am still down on those same 4, right? But I'm not down as much, at least, right? CONY, I'm down 14%. ULTY, down 2.4. SMCY, 7.1. And WDTE, only down 1.3%. And the rest of these, as you can see for yourself on the screen, they are all green and they are currently up. That does not mean I'm making money in those, okay? Because until they get paid off, I'm technically not making any money on them, right? Because I still am showing that I've paid out more in my capital or in my amount that I've invested into each one of these. But as you can see, I have still paid more than I have earned in distributions. Okay. And until that number flips to where my distributions is higher than what I have invested, then I am not making any money in those. Okay. It has to get to a point where my distributions are higher than the amount that I have invested, or else I am not making any money. And for me, in my current situation, though I'm not making any money on these distributions yet, I am calculating how long it will take before I actually start earning and making money. But if I got to the point where I'm just done with it, I could sell out of it and then I would make money. So if I am to hold it and not sell, then I'm not making money until I make more in distributions than I have invested. Unless I were to sell out of those ETFs, then I could potentially make this amount of money selling it at that current price. So I'm calculating all of that for you right here on this summary sheet, and it just makes it nice, quick, and easy. So come Monday, I don't have to worry about NVDY, right? I'm not looking to buy shares of NVDY because my real price per share of $12.38 and the market price of $14.80, I'm not looking to buy any. That's why when I see green here, I'm not even watching NVDY, okay? I'm not even watching it because it does not need me to even look at it. It's green, it's doing fine. The distributions are staying ahead of that market price at that current state. But if it's red, those are the ones that I can watch, right? Those are the ones that my spreadsheet is saying if I buy at that current price, on like CONY at $40.92, it will lower that real price per share. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm just buying shares just because it's under my real price per share. I still have my buy-in method that if you've watched some of the other videos, you know what that is. I look at the indicators to help determine when is the best time to buy. It may not be the best price to buy, but I'm looking for that best time to buy. Because if I was just buying just because it's under that price, eventually I'm going to run out of money, right? So I can't necessarily do that. I have to try to find that happy median place where if that price is under my real price per share, I can buy, but I need to give it also time for those distributions to help lower that real price per share as well. I do not have to do all the work. I just need that distribution to help me out to lower it, and I can help those distributions out by purchasing under that real price per share to help lower that real price per share as well. Now, I know that was a lot to take in, but I hope after several times of going through this, I hope it's starting to make a little bit of sense. But as you can see, if I were to sell out of every single one of my high yield ETFs that I'm showing here on this sheet, and there are a total of 14 of them. If I were to sell out of all of them, I will clear about $17.6 thousand. Okay. And that is just simply taking in the ones that are in the green along with the ones in the red, and therefore I should be able to make about $17.6 thousand, and that would be closing out of all of these positions. Okay, but I'm not going to do that, but it's just good to see. So until then, I am still down because I am not actually making money until it gets paid off. So again, if you're interested in trying out this spreadsheet, it's got a lot of nice little perks. I've showed you the individual sheets, and I've showed you this summary page. Along with, there is a way that you can compare just the prices. Now, it does not take into account any distributions or dividends. This is just the price movement of two stocks or ETFs, and you can punch in those stock ticker symbols, and then you punch in your start date that you want to start from, and it will graph out those for you, and it's just a visual to see the difference between two tickers. So this is just for fun. And also, don't forget about the real price per share calculator. That is part of the Rev4 stock tracker sheet, where you can pick from one of the ETFs that you are tracking here from below. You can then enter in a potential buy price and how many shares that you would like to actually purchase, and it will recalculate and show you what your new real price per share could be if you did buy at that price with that many shares. It'll also tell you how much that would cost to do so. But in CONY's case, if I was able to buy at a $39 price and I purchased 93 shares, that would cost me about $3,600, but it would drop my real price per share down to $44.81, which would get me a bit closer to that market price, so that if CONY started moving back up a little bit and I'm still earning those distributions, I can meet it somewhere in the middle and eventually, hopefully, move on down while CONY decided to trade sideways or keep moving up some. So that's just a nice little adder right there. It's a really neat way just to give you a preview of what it could be if you did purchase shares at a certain price and a certain number of shares, what that new real price per share would be. So of course, if you want a copy of this spreadsheet, come join the Discord. Link will be in the pinned comments and down in the description below. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. If you don't mind, hit that subscribe button, smash the like button. It would be much appreciated. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stocks or plays. And until next time, Legend out.